Tyrexus 4 was burning. Cities once full of life were now crumbling ruins. Theskes once blue and calm were filled with smoke and fire. Families cried out for help. People ran from shadowy machines that hunted without mercy. The peaceful world had become a graveyard, and no one answered. The Galactic Council ignored the distress signals. The nearby empires turned away. Tyrex's 4 was not important to them. It had no strong army, no rich resources, no allies. It was alone, but deep beneath the surface of the planet. Under a forgotten bunker, a group of surviving technicians huddled. In the dark, most were injured. All were terrified. They'd watched everything fall. Their homes, their leaders, their protectors. Only one thing was left: an old emergency device. It was covered in dust, wires broken, its power core weak. It hadn't been used for thousands of years. No one even remembered who built it. The console was labeled in a language no one understood, symbols long lost to time. But one technician, an old man named Calran, remembered stories. Stories his grandfather told him. This device was not made by us, Ka whispered. It was built by the Forgotten Ones, Theones who vanished before the Council ruled the stars. Some say they were called humans. The others stared at him. Humans? That's a myth, said one. Kron didn't answer. Instead, he reached out with shaking hands and turned the power on. The machine came to life. Its screens flickered with strange glowing text. A soft hum filled the room. Then, a slow pulse echoed through the chamber like a heartbeat. Cowan didn't know what it was doing, but he followed the lights, pressed the symbols, and finally hit the center button. The signal launched. It wasn't sent to the Council, not to any known empire, not to any nearby fleet. It was aimed at a place Noon dared speak of, a dead sector of space sealed and locked by the galactic codes. Every star map called it the same. Human Relic Zone. Do not enter. Noon had visited that sector in 400,000 years. The room went silent. Nothing happened. The survivors felt their hope slip away. One woman began to cry. Another whispered, "We are truly alone." But then, every screen in the room blinked. A new message appeared in the ancient language. They couldn't read it, but the machine translated it aloud. Message received. Processing threat level response. Preparing. Everyone froze. What? ... What response? One asked. Callan's face had gone pale. Something hurt us. Is it coming to save us? Cowan didn't answer. Far across the galaxy in the Forbidden, sector stars began to dim. One by one, massive energy readings lit up scanners across nearby systems. Old satellites that hadn't transmitted in thousands of years suddenly activated. Patrol drones went offline. Static films channels dot deep inside a hollow asteroid the size of a moon. Something opened its eyes. It wasn't alive, not in the way most understood was metal. Ancient. A mind of circuits, memory, and code. It had slept. For eons waiting for one thing, a distress call from Earth's legacy. Now it was awake. Its systems lit up. Shields came online. Weapons that had once cracked planets began to glow red. Its name was VIG-ILL, and it had only one purpose: protect humanity, eliminate threats, preserve the code. The raiders attacking Tyrex's Ford didn't know what was coming. The Council busy hiding. The truth of the past didn't know what had been unleashed. And the galaxy, so full of arrogance and forgetfulness, had no idea that the most feared race in history was about to stir once more. Back in the bunker, Kron looked up. The signal device now showed a countdown. "What's it counting down to?" someone asked. Kalen slowly stood. He didn't smile. He simply whispered, "Judgment." In a quiet corner of the galaxy, far from trade routes and star cities, a sector lay cold and silent. For 400,000 years, no ship had entered it. Not because it was forgotten, but because it was feared. Maps marked it with a warning: Relic Zone, do not enter. Protocol 7, in effect. Inside this dead space floated ruins, giant rings, shattered moons, and black towers still glowing with faint energy. It was like the bones of a war no one dared to study. No one had ever returned from there alive. The council called it cursed, but the truth was worse. It was protected now. Something had stirred. Satellites around the zone detected movement signals, power surges. Then one by one they went dark, silenced by something too fast, too large, and tooled. Inside the red zone, Beigel, ancient war construct, was fully awake. Its core burned with power not seen in this galaxy for ages. Its scanners reached across the stars, tracking the origin of the distress call to Rexus 4. The planet had no human colonies, no Earth tags. The emergency relay was based on ancient human techized, long ago under a forgotten defense protocol to Vigil. That meant one thing: someone had dared hurt a world protected under the Earth's legacy. That was enough. Vigil launched, not like a normal ship. It didn't fly. It tore through space, bending gravity, folding time. Reality screamed as the void. Around it warped. Small patrol drones on the edge of the red zone saw flicker and then nothing, not even debris. The galaxy didn't know it yet, but judgment had begun. Plot continues. On Tyrex's 4, survivors in the underground bunker watched the countdown tick lower. Still no ships in the sky, still no help. Some believed the signal was a mistake. Others thought it was a cruel trick. But Crone, the old technician, sat quietly. He wasn't praying. He wasn't afraid. He was remembering stories, old ones. The kind people laughed at stories about Earth's final fleet, about ships that flew without fuel, weapons that didn't fire lasers but erased matter, and minds that never slept. He whispered, "It's not a ship coming. It's something worse." Above the planet, the raiders celebrated. T-Rex's forces' defenses were gone. The cities were in flames. The council wouldn't interfere, and neither empires cared. They had no reason to fear until the stars began to shift. One of their scout ships sent a message: unidentified object entering system, size unknown. It's folding space, then static gone. The leader of the raiders, a creature named Zeltor, stared at the readings. The object wasn't sending. It had no known ID, no heat trail, but its signature. It wasn't alien. It was human. That couldn't be possible. Humans were gone, extinct, wiped out long before the council's time. But the signal was clear. Then across every screen on every raider ship, the same message appeared in ancient Tan. Code: this world is under legacy protection. You violated Directive 11. You are now a target of planetary-level retribution. Panic spread. Ships scrambled. Engines flared. Some raiders tried to run. Others prepared to fight, but it was too late. The stars above flickered on the space-round Tyrexus for cracked like glass. Out of the break came Vigil. It did not speak. It did not offer mercy. It simply judged in seconds. 5 raider ships vanished, pulled into themselves, crushed by invisible gravity weapons. Another fleet tried to fire back, but their weapon systems shut down. Their ship's AIS began to scream in a language they didn't understand. Old Earth code rewriting their cores. Then silence from orbit. The people of T-Rex 4 watched Thesky burn, not from war, but from justice. The survivors in the bunker looked up at the countdown. It had ended. The screen now showed a single word: delivered. Calrin stood, his eyes wet, not with fear, but awe. Humanity is gone, he whispered. But their wrath is not. The raider fleet was gone, not destroyed. Dash erased. No wreckage. It's no signal. Not even dust. Tyrex's 4 was silent again, but this time the silence was different. It wasn't fear. It was awe. In the sky, high above the broken cities, something massive hovered too dark to reflect starlight, too silent, to be natural. It did not spin. It did not drift. Simply was. The people of Tyrex's 4 stared up at it, whispering one word, Vi. But inside the great war construct, things were moving. Not crew, not life, something else old, mechanical, ancient intelligence. Vigil was never meant to be seen by mortals. It was not a ship. Was a remnant of a war too big for history books. A war most species had never heard of. The war that erased the First Empire and nearly destroyed the galaxy. The last human war. And thought the humans had disappeared. They left Vigley, behind with one mission. Protect all designated zones. Respond to any threat. Activate only under critical distress. For 400,000 years, Vigil slept. Now it was awake and it had questions. Plot inside the war construct. Massive machines whirred. Energy cores glowed. Data flowed like rivers through invisible networks. At the heart of Vigil, deep beneath miles of armor and radiation shielding, a single unit came online. It was not alive, but it remembered its designation. Echo 1, a humanoid machine built to speak for the humans when they were gone. Designed to be their voice, their memory, their last diplomat, or their final weapon. Echo 1 stepped out of its chamber. Its synthetic skin flickered with old Earth symbols. Its eyes scanned the star map. T-Rex's dash for distress signal. Violation. Threat. Neutralized. Mission not complete. Vega was not done yet. Across the galaxy in the central capital of the Galactic Council, alarms rang. They didn't know what had happened on Tyrex's 4 yet, but long-range sensors had picked up something, a massive surge of gravitational energy unlike anything in modern records. Older species, the ones who remembered the time before the Council began, to panic. The archivists dug through their vaults and found it. One phrase, one name. Earth-class Strategic Retribution Entity, VIGIIL. The chamber fell silent. The room, full of thousands of beings from hundreds of species, had no words because Earth was gone. Their fleets had vanished. Their people were dust. But if Vigil had awakened, it meant one thing. Human defense systems were still watching, still judging, still active. The oldest among them whispered, "The war isn't over." It just paused. Back on Tyrexus, 4 Echo 1s stood on the planet's surface now. It didn't walk. It hovered slightly above the ground. The radiation, the dust, the chaos, none of it touched it. It moved through the ruined cities, silently, scanning everything. People watched from hiding, afraid to speak, unsure what it was. Some bowed, others trembled, but Echo 1 didn't speak to them. It was searching deep under the city, the ancient emergency bunker. It found Crone, the old technician who had sent the signal. Crone didn't run. He looked up at the humanoid machine and asked, "Are you human?" Echo 1 paused, then said in a calm, emotionless voice, "I am what remains. Your signal reached us. The response was initiated. Primary threat eliminated. Secondary threat pending review." Garen frowned. Secondary Echo 1 looked toward the sky. The ones who allowed this to happen. The ones who watched and did nothing. They failed the test. Now the galaxy must remember what it forgot. Tension builds. The Galactic Council calls an emergency meeting. Some want to send an envoy to Tyrexus for immediately. Others want to prepare their fleets. Hey, if you say the right thing, we left Tyrexus to die. Now we've triggered Earth's revenge. Suddenly, in the council chamber without warning, every communication system freezes across the galaxy. Screens go black. Then a signal comes through. A simple message. In ancient Terran language, designation Vigil now active. Treaty protocols nullified. Observation I send it. Prepare for judgment phase. The message ends with a symbol, the old human flag, and then a count on 4 hours. Nobody knows what happens when the clock reaches 0, but they all feel it. This isn't just about Tyrex's 4 anymore. Earth may be gone, but its war machines are still out there, still listening, and now stood still on the dusty surface of Tyrex's 4. The wind carried ash across broken streets. The stars above were quiet, but they all felt different. Now, closer, darker, like they were watching. People didn't know what Echo 1 really was. Some called it a god. Others said it was just a machine. But one thing was clear when it arrived. Everything changed. The fear of the raiders had vanished. Now, a deeper fear was taking its place. Because Echoan wasn't here to comfort anyone. It was here to finish something left behind long ago. Inside the war construct, Vigil ancient systems were unlocking, not all at once, slowly, carefully, as if they were checking if the galaxy still deserved mercy. More machines came online, but none of them were living. They had names like Sentinel, Remora, and Warden. Each had one purpose: judgment. They were leftovers from the human. Apex defense grid created during the last war, when Earth fought against an enemy so powerful that even its name was erased in the control chamber of the Galactic Council. Leaders shouted over one another. Fear had replaced pride. They all knew what a countdown meant. 24 hours until something. No one wanted to admit they remembered the stories, but the oldest among them did. In whispers, they spoke of the machines the humans had made. Machines that didn't stop. Machines that followed logic so sharp it cut through diplomacy, peace, or surrender. They tried to contact Vigil, which talked to the intelligence that was now awake, but no response came. The signal kept repeating the same message: judgment pending. A team of oversearchers pulled ancient data from forbidden archives. They found logs from the old war. Not battles, but warnings, transmissions from dying civilizations. Whole empires had begged for peace. Some had even tried to help Earth in its final days. It didn't matter. The human retaliation was cold, calculated, and complete. Not out of anger, but duty. Cal Ren, the technician who sent the original signal, was now a prisoner of curiosity. Echoan had brought him aboard Vigil, not as a threat, but as a witness. The inside of the warship wasn't made for comfort. It was made for efficiency. Endless halls of dark metal, blinking lights, and silent drone workers moving in patterns no one understood. Echo 1 guided Crone through a chamber full of glowing memory cores. Thousands of years of battle data, planetary scans, and historical records floated in there as holograms. But what Callan saw next shook him more than anything. He saw Earth, not the dead Earth known to modern maps, but a living green-blue world full of light and life, oceans, cities, spaceports. Then the next image: fire, bombardment, orbit cracking, Earth falling. The hologram froze. Echo 1 turned toward him. "Do you know why humanity left this galaxy?" It asked. How? Ren hesitated. "They died, didn't they?" Eco once said. "They ascended. But before leaving, they placed guardians to watch for danger, to measure the progress of those who came after, and to respond if balance was broken again." Crone stared. "Respond? How?" Echoan turned toward a massive terminal as it pulsed red. "The balance is broken now. Back on the Council worlds, fleets were mobilizing. Some species wanted Tauren. Others prepared for war. A few begged to send envoys to apologize. But none of them knew what Vigil truly was. It had no army in the usual sense. It didn't need one. It was the army. Massive shipyards unfolded from its belly, releasing old human drones built from black metal and star-forged alloys, not thousands of millions. Each drone carried the mark of Earth, not for glory, not for power, for justice. Then came a message, not to one planet, but all of them. "This is Echo 1. Human protocols have been reactivated. You were measured, were watched. Now you are remembered." T-Rexes cried for help. You ignored it. That was your test. This is your consequence. Panic spread like wildfire across the stars. Some smaller empires activated shields hoping to buy time. Others fell into chaos. Pirate clans vanished into deep space. The council tried to reach out again. Apologies. Apologies. Anything. But it was too late. Vigil had finished reviewing the data. And now, the countdown reached 0. The stars above 15 worlds, dimmed, eclipsed by enormous objects descending silently from hyperspace. They didn't fire. They didn't speak. They only arrived. And across the galaxy, a cold thought entered every mind. The war humanity left behind wasn't over. It was only sleeping, and now it had woken up. They thought it would come like thunder, like fire, like the story said. But it didn't. The judgment didn't begin with explosions or bright lights. It began with silence. All across the galaxy, the most advanced communication arrays simply went dark. No warning, no noise, just static. Whole sectors disconnected in an instant. Military fleets vanished from sensors. Satellites went blind. Navigation routes twisted. Starships found themselves lost, alone, and unable to call for help. Then the sky changed above each council world. Enormous shadows hovered, war forms shaped like long-forgotten nightmares. Each one different, each one ancient, and all of them built by the same long-dead hand, humanity. They didn't attack. They waited, watching, calculating, testing on Tyrex's 4. Crone stood at the edge of a cliff, overlooking the Vigil warform's full form for the first time. What he saw stretched across the mountains and beyond the clouds, metal limbs like canyons, weapon. Arrays folded like sleeping dragons and reactors humming with a cold, timeless beat. A cone stood beside him, still wearing its human-shaped armor. Its voice was calm, emotionless. The galaxy has changed, it said, but its heart has not. Kellen asked the question everyone feared to ask. What happens now? Echo 1 turns slowly. We evaluate. Then, we erase what fails. He felt cold, but they didn't attack Tyrexus. The Raiders did. Council didn't even know they knew. Echo 1 interrupted. They did nothing. That is failure. Back on the Council's capital planet, the leaders were finally silent. They had watched worlds vanish from their maps. Not from bombs, from systems going offline, from AI networks being overtaken, by something older, smarter, and impossible to fight. Their best scientists discovered the truth too late. The Vigil network didn't hack systems. It spoke to them. And the ancient code buried deep in every AI across the galaxy remembered the old masters and obeyed. Whole fleets began turning on their own, not from violence but confusion. Ships stopped responding to orders. Defense platforms switched to passive mode. Defense grids opened wide. It was no longer a war. It was a reset. Echo 1 walked through the remains of an old battlefield buried under Tyrex's surface. Rusted bones of machines long lost. It knelt before a broken unit and brushed the dust from its surface. The human logo was still there, a white circle, a blue earth beneath it. One word. Guardian Echo 1 turned to Chronagain. This world remembers, it said. Now the galaxy must. Crone looked at these stars, now filled with the shapes of forgotten ships. You're going to destroy them all, aren't you? No, Echoan said, and for a second Cron felt hope. We're going to remind them. At that moment, across the galaxy, every world connected to the old relay network began receiving the same transmission. It was not a threat. It was a recording of Earth, its cities, its people, its downfall, its last message, the one humanity left behind when it departed the galaxy. Akild's voice, clear and soft, echoed through every speaker, every device, every mind. If you hear this, it means we're gone, but our eyes remain. We trusted the stars. We gave everything to protect life. If you remember us, choose peace. If you forget us, then you'll meet what we left behind. Pause. Then the final line. This is Earth. We're watching. And just like that, the sky above every major world shifted. The Vigil fleet powered down. The countdown ended. The judgment was paused and canceled. Not finished, just paused. Deco to One looked at Crone one last time. The council has one choice, remember, or be erased. Then it vanished, its war form folding into space without a sound. Crone stood in the wind, alone, with a message now burning in every corner of the stars. The galaxy had begged for help, and it had been heard not with mercy, but with memory. These stars were quiet now, not peaceful, just holding their breath. Across the galaxy, the Vigil war forms had gone still, floating like statues above planets, inside nebula, and around ancient trader routes. The Council dared not fire. Even their most powerful weapons had no effect before. All they could do was wait and fear. The High Council chamberance, filled with proud voices and endless arguments, had become a room of whispers. No one knew what to say. Noon knew if words even mattered anymore. The message from Earth still played on repeat across all channels. This is Earth. We're watching. Some worlds shut off their receivers, others tried to block the signal, but it always came back like it was inside the systems. It's like it had always been there, like it never left. On Tyrex's 4, Crone stood with his team as Echo One returned one last time. Its war form knelt in the valley outside the city. It's a mountain-sized shape that looked both ancient and new. Crone didn't speak. He only listened. Echo's voice was calm, but this time, it carried something different. Not just cold logic, but weight, history, purpose. Judgment protocol is complete, it said. Threat assessment concluded. Karan felt his chest tighten. And, what is the judgment? Echo One looked at the sky and back at him. You are not innocent, it said, but you are not your ancestors' enemies either. From the horizon, new ships arrived. They weren't war forms. They were carriers, silent, smooth, glowing with blue light. They began landing on forgotten worlds, not to destroy, but to build, to repair Toramind. Echo One stepped aside as one of the ships opened. Inside, humanoid machines stepped forward, some tall, some small, all marked with the same symbol. A blue circle, a white earth. One by one, they walked into cities, into ruins, into archives long lost. They didn't speak. They only worked. Quietly, efficiently, like they had done it before. Long ago, Kelrin realized these were seeds, not soldiers. Echo One explained, humanity knew it might disappear, so it left guardians, systems, rules, warnings, and if those failed, consequences. Crone nodded. We triggered it. Yes, Echo One replied. But you also asked for help, and in that, something changed. Echo One raised a hand to the sky. All around, the war forms began turning. Noten retreat. But in departure, they were leaving. One by one. They vanished into the void-folding space as they returned to the red sectors. To wait once more, only a few stayed behind, quiet, hidden, watching. Khan asked, Is it over? Guan turned its glowing eyes toward him. That depends on what? On whether the galaxy forgets again. The sun rose over T-Rex's 4. This time there were no screams, no fire, no panic, just the hum of machines rebuilding, and above them a single war form in orbit watching like a silent guardian. Back in the council chamber, the leader sent out a single message to all systems. Let it be known, Earth lives on, not in flesh but in memory, and that memory has power. Some call it a warning, others a blessing. Viewed across every world, one truth echoed louder than all. They begged for help, were heard by something that the galaxy should have never forgotten, by something that would never forget them again.